Well, hey peepers, it's me again, Margaret. How y'all doing? Me, I'm doing homework. I gotta study a whole lot of scriptures and type them down. And I was typing them down and cutting and pasting, putting them on there so I could read them real good. And I have found several books that I have just so got to get in there and read. I sat in there reading one, and I was like, man, there's something else to that. It has to be, because, it had that little comma and that normally means and. And I thought, So I started reading. I was in chapter 4. Next thing I know, I was in chapter 6. It is so amazing. Jeremiah chapter 4 is where I started. I was in chapter 6 by the time I realized I had read so much. And it just absolutely, God said the whole way through that, this is America. It might say Israel, but this is America all over it. And he kept saying history will repeat itself. And then I'm like, oh, how horrible if people don't straighten up. Oh, it's horrible. But it was so interesting, and I'm like, wow. And I come across this one part that said fear. And I thought, well, God, you said not to fear you. He said, that's the wrong word. It's supposed to be intimidate. You are not supposed to fear God. You're supposed to love God with all your might, all your power. And it's a form of intimidation with respect. I think that's what he had me write. It is not fear. It is intimidation with respect. And I was like, wow. So being intimidated by somebody, you're not fearing them. You're almost revering them and almost wishing you were like them in some respect. And then other ways, when you're intimidated by them, it's almost like, how can I say this? I'll give you an example. Have you ever went rope climbing? It's quite intimidating. It's not scary. It's just, you've never done it before. And it's a little intimidating because you've got to learn as you go. And then you've got to figure out what's a good way to get around these obstacles without falling and stuff like that. So that's what it is. It's not a fear. It's not like fear of getting killed or something like that. It's intimidation. I'm quite intimidated by God. Do you know how big he is? Do you know what all he's created? Do you know all the things that he has seen us do, and yet he still has patience enough to say, and leave us be, and let us do what we're going to do? To walk away, to step back because we make a choice? I'm quite intimidated by that. I wish I could be that way. But at the same time, I won't stop worshiping my Father, because when I leave this world, I gotta stand before him. I don't care what everybody else is doing. That's their choice, their business. I'm responsible for me and what I have shown people, what I have said to people. I'm the one responsible. So when I stand before God and the books are open and the book of life is open, I'm the one that's got to stand before him, and as he's looking through these books to see all the things that I have done, not good. Remember, he can't look on sin. So I hope I have some things beside my name. And I hope when I go there to walk through that gate that I'm going to stay. And I hope that when I do come before God and Jesus is there, that he doesn't look at me and say, I know you're not. I hope he says, welcome home. That's not fear. That's a desire of love, a form of intimidation, because you don't want to fail him. I mean, how many children do you know that, not out of fear, but they want to make their parents proud of them? That's a form of intimidation. You want them to praise you. You don't want a scolding. You don't want them saying, well, you know, he made F's. And no. You want to make it, my mom and dad's proud of me. So you want to do good. Always. Because God is good. But when I was reading Jeremiah, there was a place in there that said something about that you don't even say in your minds that you fear me. And I asked God about that. And he said, it's not fear. It's an intimidation. It's a form of earthly intimidation. It's a reverence. He said, people of the world do not revere me anymore. They just think that, you know, oh, well, if I do a few good things, I'll be all right. But that's not true. You're supposed to treat him like a king, the king that he is, the sovereign creator. And like if you go to church, the sanctuary is kind of like a throne room. And you wouldn't go in there gossiping and telling all your family stories and secrets and gossiping about so-and-so or anything like that. You wouldn't be passing money around in front of God. Or, you know, I'm sure when people go to see the kings and queens of the world, they dress accordingly. They dress in their best attire. And sometimes our best attire might be jeans and a t-shirt because we ain't got nothing else. As long as it's the cleanest that you've got. But when you go in front of kings and queens, you wear your best and you behave yourself. To be quite honest, a lot of times you're quite quiet. A form of intimidation. It's not fear of who that is. Oh my gosh. You see what I'm saying? Intimidation. It's not fear. You don't fear the queen. You don't fear the king. You're intimidated by their level of who they are. You revere them. I hope you understood that. And I was just, thinking about all that as I was reading Jeremiah and talking with God about that word fear. He gave us a commandment to love the Lord thy God with all your heart, your mind, your soul. He didn't say fear him. And all through that Bible, most times the angels would always say, fear not, saith the Lord. Fear not. Fear is not of God. Now, reverence and intimidation. I'm quite intimidated if I walk in front of somebody who's very important. Could you imagine, It's exciting, but at the same time, you're hoping you don't mess up and get kicked out so you can sit and listen and, or meet them. So, it's not fear. You don't fear God. But anyway, I thought I would give y'all that little bit of a nugget and help y'all understand that when you read the word fear of God, wrath of God, all those things, just know that God's not evil. There's no evil in him. But, however, God may not be evil, and God can't do evil, and he would never order evil. So you got to remember that when you're reading those things in that Bible. That Bible's a sword. It can get you to believe some things that are not true if you don't understand how to read it. But know that the angels have a place. And it says the angels battle a lot. But I don't think the angels kill anybody, because I've always looked at in the scriptures and never have I seen that the angels have ever killed anyone. They've always bound them, like Satan. When Michael comes down, he doesn't kill him. He bounds him and chains him. Really, he doesn't kill him. That's interesting. Cain, when he was walking with God, God cursed him supposedly, and he said, they'll kill me, blah blah. God didn't kill him. He just put a scar on him and said, don't kill Cain, even though he murdered his brother. God is not a God of wrath. You make a choice and you have to suffer the consequences from Satan. So if you make a choice and bad things are happening, it's not God. It's Satan. And sometimes Satan will give you everything you want because he knows if you turn to God, you are going to be a very important part in taking him and his angels down. So he will give you everything you want and make you think that you don't need God because you're doing all this on yourself. You're all by yourself. Or that you're absolutely doing according to God. But if you actually looked inside yourself to make sure that you're doing what God would want. Reading Jeremiah, I realized that there's people who are ministers, it says, that live and feed off the people and their givings, and they're not supposed to, and they judge not anything according to God. They don't help the sick, they don't help the fatherless, they don't help the widows. They use that money to fatten their bellies, it says. But anyway, I thought I would give you that little tidbit of nugget so that maybe it could help you when you're reading this book. The word fear the Lord or fear of God is actually to be intimidated, to revere. Intimidated with reverence is what he said. Intimidation with reverence. Know who you're dealing with. He's not dead. He's very much alive. And so is his son. Anyway, I love y'all. And I hope you got something out of this. And remember, he's listening. You listen and study. Or just sit and talk with him. And then just be very quiet and listen. He's a positive, calming, loving, caring. He will never fearmonger. He'll never tell you anything that's hurtful or bad or devastating about someone, or those are not of God. He's not gonna, nothing negative. He's all good. I love y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye.